Has the Seth Russell injury pulled the plug on Baylor's college football playoff hopes, or is it just a plug-and-play offense for the Baylor Bears? And so we move on to the next quarterback, and he's a very talented one. We bring in Sean Cordy of Today's U to talk the Baylor quarterback situation. Sean, of course, thanks so much for joining us. So let's talk some Jarrett Stidham. So what can you tell us about this kid? We know he's talented. We know he was in the ESPN 300 recruits, and so he definitely has the skill set, and obviously the experience is a factor.
Yeah, like you just said, he's in the plug-and-play system at Baylor right now, and some people were worried that Seth Russell would struggle replacing Bryce Petty, but we've seen every single year Art Briles figures out a way how to pull out the best from his quarterbacks, and it's always kind of troubling to take a coach's word about a player, but he said that Stidham is the best player he has ever been around, the best young quarterback he's been around. So he said that if he wasn't ready, he wouldn't have even been playing backup to Russell right now. So like we said, he's very talented, and he can jump in right away with this offense that's rolling as fast as they ever have.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't hurt that you've got a bye week this week. Baylor does. Kansas State's coming up on November 5th. So despite his skill set and his obvious talent, and he's been on campus since January, so he's one of those kids that was an early enrollee. That helps considerably for a quarterback in particular, getting used to the offense. But the bye week needs to, that certainly helps as well.
Yeah, if there is a time that you want an injury, you don't want one. But right now, this was the time to have one. He's going to have another 2 weeks to start taking reps with the first team. So he's going to start learning how to get a rapport with Corey Coleman, who has 18 touchdowns already. He should be able to pick up the slack for Russell if there is any. I mean, Stidham has a very similar skill set to Russell right now. He's very similar in height. They have great athleticism, both of them. And they also have a great deep arm. And that's exactly what this Baylor offense has done with Coleman, Katie Cannon, and Jay Lee. And you also have the running support. If Stidham starts struggling, you got 4 solid running backs, Shaq Luna in particular, that could start taking the load off of him. And we'll see. Kansas State's going to be a challenge, no doubt, but I think Stidham at this point is ready.
Well, if he can throw 6 touchdown passes for every 28 he throws, if he can keep up that pace, I think that's going to be pretty good. That's been the pace thus far, but obviously that's against lesser opponents and in garbage time, as you've outlined in some of your work recently this week. The players themselves, and hearing some of the comments about Corey Coleman, Katie Cannon, the offensive lineman that's one of the best in the nation. Can't come up with his name right now. Yes, they certainly seem very comfortable. I know that they're going to put up the party line to the media, but it seems pretty genuine that they're comfortable. They know that this kid has talent. They know that they're probably going to have to help him out a little bit more than Seth Russell, but they're very confident in his ability and their ability to make plays for him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how there's any way that they can't be confident. He came in as the top recruit Baylor's ever had, so that already puts in some confidence. When you're talking about you had a player like Robert Griffin come in, you're already saying that he's better than a Heisman Trophy winner or has the potential to be. So he's already had 7 touchdowns, and he's played in every single game. So as a backup quarterback, playing less than 1 quarter a game, he's always found a touchdown in that game. So the last 2 passes he's had are touchdowns. But, I mean, yet, like we said, those are garbage time touchdowns. But they came off. He shows that he has great ball decision or a great playmaking decision, that he knows not to throw it. He's tucked in and run when he should, and he's also thrown it successfully the past 2 times for scores. So I think he already knows how to handle this offense.
Sean, you made a good point about him being very similar to Seth Russell, because you would think that most coaches, especially who have been around as long as Art Briles in a particular program, would want the backup to be very similar in skill set to the starter. But in a lot of instances, we see the starter go down, then we see a backup come in who has a different skill set, and it changes play calling, it changes just the approach of the game, and the other players are automatically not comfortable with him. So definitely a good point there. And before we let you go, Sean, it's a rough road down the stretch for Mr. Stidham in regards to the schedule ramping up considerably.
Yeah, I mean, you got Oklahoma. That's luckily in Waco for Baylor. Then you have traveling to Stillwater for the Oklahoma State game, which is going to be one of the toughest games they have. I'm going to say it's actually going to be tougher than TCU. Oklahoma State has the best defense in the league right now, and TCU is going to be struggling because of their defense. It's at home for both of those games, away for Baylor, I should say. But yeah, it's going to be really struggling. It's going to show us how much potential Stidham has in these next 2 years that he's going to be able to play for Baylor.
Sean Cordy from Today's You, please check out his work there. He does great work for us, jumping on here talking Baylor and Big 12. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mark.